Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Woodstock City Council, October 3rd, 2024. This hybrid meeting is being held in person here in council chambers and electronically in accordance with section 238, subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedure Bylaw. This meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording will be posted on the city's website following the meeting. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the Agendas, Meetings, and Minutes page of the city's website. And today, councilors attending virtually will be raising their hands in view of their webcam when moving a motion, requesting to speak, and when a vote is being taken. If a member of council is disconnected or having technical difficulties, we will take a recess in order to attempt to rectify the issue. If technical difficulties exist that prevent the meeting from continuing, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvene at a later time. If a councilor attending virtually needs to leave the meeting at any time, they are to inform the clerk. And those here in attendance will notice we have Councilor Leatherborough that's going to be attending virtually, so everybody knows. And today we're going to have Councilor Schattenberg will be reading the resolutions. Today we had no closed session. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Disclosure of any new business? None. Matters arising from the minutes? Also none. And now to the minutes. Councilor Schattenberg.
Yeah, moved by Councilor Mark Schattenberg, seconded by Councilor Wismer Van Meer, that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on September 19th, 2024 be adopted.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with those? All those in favor? That is carried. None opposed. Next up, additions to the agenda. Councilor Schattenberg.
Moved by Councilor Schattenberg, seconded by Councilor Tate, that the following items be added to the agenda. Delegation item 8D, James Burnett from ViewTech. ViewTech to purchase a portion of Keys Drive between Longworth Lane and 920 Keys Drive in Woodstock. And department report item 14-I-2, fire protection tanker operations services agreement for the Cache Karn subdivision.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with those? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. So no presentations today, but we do have some delegations. So we're going to start off with 8A, Greg Visser and Clarence Woodsma, updating Pittock Park Disc Golf Course. Welcome.
Thank you, Jerry, and city council members and staff. I'm wearing my shirt from the OPSA Disc Golf Tournament, just to kind of showcase, of course, some of the events that we have at Pittock Park. Back in February, Clarence and Pete over here had made a presentation to the Parks and Rec Committee, and he's going to follow us through that. But I certainly, I just want to make everybody well aware, and certainly Councillor Deb Tate is well aware that disc golf is alive and well in this city and growing. So Clarence, I'm going to give it to you.
Thanks, Greg. My presentation may be here.
On the screen.
Right.
Should be on the screen there.
Yep.
You
Awesome.
click on
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
Yep.
I can make it work, honest. Come on.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. And advance it. Sorry, I don't usually use PDF for presentation. Oh, come on. I need to scroll. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much. So I want to take this opportunity to update council on the state of disc golf in the community of Woodstock. I'm a resident and a player, and I'm representing the larger Woodstock disc golf community. As the title implies, the focus is on the growth of the sport and recreational activity over the last 5 or 6 years, the opportunity that it represents for the community, and of course, the needs associated with that. In terms of the growth of the sport overall, this is more from a global context. The graph is showing you the increase in disc golf courses worldwide. You can see the growth, especially since 2018. In the Canadian context, we're roughly the third most active country in the world behind the US and Finland. And signs of prominence of the sport are the fact that it has a professional league. There's an industry that's providing equipment. And as an example, US colleges have disc golf as one of their sports that they support as well. There has been a pandemic bump in activity, and certainly what you'll see locally in terms of the course at Pittock is that bump in increase in activity. So the course has existed for over 20 years, and it's important to point out that to date, the asset that is there, the infrastructure, has been responsible by the club members themselves, so privately funded in terms of the baskets, et cetera. UDisc is an app that players use to record their activity, and the numbers that are in this graph are from UDisc, and you can see that it represents only 20% of the activity. So in 2023, 2024, you can see the change from roughly 500 rounds recorded in 2018 to over 5,000. And if you take that extrapolation, that means there's roughly 25,000 rounds that people have played over the past year. So the growth is sort of undeniable. And the other thing I'd like to point out, as you can see by the bottom graph, is that the activity is year round. So unlike many assets that have seasons to them, disc golf is a sport that is enjoyed year round. In terms of the regional context, the Woodstock course, we're just showing you the neighboring courses in London and Paris. And in terms of their rating by other players, and Woodstock's rating is lower. They have better equipment, essentially. The context map is also showing you we're sort of in the heart of a very active, larger regional context in terms of disc golf. And I think that also has potential in terms of economic development opportunities and event hosting. This graph is just showing you, again, reinforcing the point of the growth in Woodstock. Yes, the surrounding courses have become more active, but Woodstock's has actually grown faster. We've had a 10-fold increase in activity over the last 5 years on that course. So it is being heavily utilized. The opportunity, if you think about the sport, it's accessible to all ages. It doesn't require extreme athletic ability, and all you simply need are a few plastic discs. So it's enjoyed by a wide age spectrum. I participated in Ontario Seniors Don't Judge Me game event this past summer as well. So it's something that everyone can enjoy, and it's very low impact in terms of from a sustainability and equity standpoint. And there is potential in terms of economic development, in terms of hosting out-of-town guests at events. So again, in the local community, the schools have been very active. This is a picture, and you can read the quote at your leisure in terms of the WASA event that was held this past spring. And indeed, the city's own community recreational report, the survey about what asset would you like to see the city add, disc golf was the most commonly requested asset that was part of that report. That's the opportunity. Now to the important part, the need. As I said at the onset, it was established over 20 years ago and essentially has been used heavily since then. The signs are basically very simple and basic, and unlike most courses where they would have full instructions and directions and length, et cetera. And there's also signage from a safety standpoint. The vast majority of disc golf courses are in public parks. So they're in mixed use environments. And so it's really important to have proper signage for the players, but also for all the park people that are using the park. The tee pads are the significant part of the infrastructure. That's where we throw from. The images are showing you the state of them in sort of late spring, basically muddy patches of ground that we throw from. So again, you can appreciate that compared to courses that are more established and have better infrastructure, poor rating and poor play and safety concerns as well. And then finally, the baskets where we throw to were installed some 20 plus years ago. They are damaged, degrading, and have been upkept to this point, but there is a real need in terms of that infrastructure. So just to close off, capital investment certainly is urgently needed. The images are showing you some alternatives in terms of what the tee pads could look like instead of sort of muddy patches. And it's to support the high degree of activity locally that I shared with you earlier, but also the potential to expand that activity and event hosting, et cetera. So it's overdue in terms of some kind of investment. And ending, just to signify the fact that there has been a strong partnership between the Conservation Authority, the City of Woodstock, and the local disc golf community, and we look forward to that continuing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before you leave, Any questions through the to the delegation? You almost got
Almost
done
got
there,
away.
sorry. Counselor Shanberg.
Yeah, I would like to thank Mr. Woodsman for his presentation. I'm just curious about the tee pads that you showed. Is that like an artificial turf or is it asphalt? What's it like? I mean, one thing I can try to compare it to would be the sort of a cricket pitch where they have a different runway.
Yeah, in that image, so the one image was artificial grass, and then the other one, I believe, was a hard rubber surface, like a rubber mat surface. So those are options. Some courses use concrete, some courses use things like patio sort of tiles. Sorry, the words are escaping me. So there are options out there.
I guess a follow-up question to that. One thing I'm surprised about is you said the club has really been responsible for installing and maintaining the baskets over the years. And I have to watch how I say this because I'm on the UTRCA board myself from Woodstock City Council, but I was kind of surprised by that fact. That was news to me. I thought maybe it was something because the UTRCA campers that might be there for the entire summer, they could go over and use your disc golf course anytime they want to.
Absolutely. I mean, it's in a public park, right? So I mean, historically, they would have that access, but yeah, I mean, Pete can confirm that for me, but I'm pretty sure I was correct in saying that they installed them, so.
Thank you. Counselor Tate.
Through the chair, just for the public's benefit, how do you find the course, like the layout of it? Compared to other ones you've played, is it good?
I mean, for the most part, I think if you look at the ratings, it'll provide more insights, but it's a challenging course. It's got some good holes. You know, again, when you play it over 100 times in a summer, it becomes familiar. But I think other people that have played the course find that the layout to be good. Right?
So just a final comment, because probably none of you watch council, but I mentioned at one of the last meetings, you have a regular group that plays on Thursday nights, and there was some young kids in that group. And just so you know, there's one that walks around with a garbage bag and he cleans up garbage every time he comes. And I was really impressed with that. So look, it isn't really, there's no garbage anywhere. When I walk other places around there, there's some garbage and it is spotless. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. And certainly that's part of, I think the people that play the sport are very respectful of the opportunity we have. It's a tremendous resource and it's a free resource and a public resource. So, I mean, we certainly value that resource.
Counselor Lauder.
Through to Mr. Woodsma, I just wanted to say thank you for this presentation. I know I walk through the trails going through there and I speak to different people that's out there playing and they're not from Woodstock, they're from all over. And so that's great. And they comment on the place and really like what the friendliness and everything that's happening there. So, and one of the fellows even decided he would try and help us learn to, my friend and I tried to describe how we could play, but we haven't tried that yet. So, but thank you for this presentation.
Right. Thank you for that comment.
Anyone else? Oh, Counselor Shanberg.
Maybe this is a question best waited until there's a motion on the floor, if there's going to be a motion, sure.
Okay. Anyone else for the delegation? Seeing none, thank you very much for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Looking for a motion on the floor. Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council refer the request from Greg Visser and Clarence Woodsma regarding updating Heddock Disc Golf Course to staff for a report.
Okay. Microphone's gonna act like this today. Seconded by Counselor Shanberg. Thank you. Discussion? Discussion? Jeez. Counselor Wismer Van Meer, thank you.
More just a comment. I know a lot of people that are playing disc golf locally. I don't think there's a time that I'm not on the ball diamond where somebody doesn't come up to me and say, I know you're playing ball, but I got a council question. When are we going to get some disc golf attention? So, I know my husband and my son have gone out and played. I have friends that play avidly. They've traveled all over Ontario to play. I think it's a great sport, especially because it doesn't show boundaries of ages. minimal equipment. It's just a really great opportunity to get out and be active and be outdoors. And I think that this is something that the city definitely benefits from. It brings people to our community. So to me, you know, I almost likened it to the explosion of pickleball and how incredibly, you know, 5 years ago, even maybe less, I had never heard of pickleball. Disc golf, I heard about 10, 15 years ago, and I was like, what in the world is that? But I had never seen it, never watched anybody play. And it's just amazing how much it's taken off. So to me, this is something that I think is beneficial for the entire community, and I hope that we can support them and make this an user-friendly facility.
Thank you. Counselor Schadenberg.
Thanks from the chair through to Brian Connors from Parks and Recreation. I guess my question is as we know, the Piddock Conservation Area, the free day use area park is now part of the city's park system, but it's still owned by the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. So just in quick terms, who would be responsible for significant upgrades to a pickleball, or not pickleball, a disc golf course?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, based on the agreement that we have with the UTRCA for that property, the UTRCA maintains the property, so they are the ones that would cut the grass or maintain the area, including the course. But for capital projects, that would be the city. And this council has already passed funds for that, so we are presently working on getting tee boxes put in and signage. So that is already happened. Council's passed that. So it's, we're just going to be executing that shortly, but that is, has already come to pass.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Thank you very much for the presentation. Next up, I'll call Stephen Owen, Parkinson's Society, Southwestern Ontario. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I am also IT for the city of Woodstock. So we're running. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for having me here today. Feel free to throw something at me when I reach my 5 minute. We're just here, very pleased to be able to present the Parkinson Society Southwestern Ontario to Council, just as an awareness piece. Full disclosure, we'll back at a later date with an ask of some sort. We just haven't figured out what that is yet. Parkinson's, unfortunately, is the fastest growing neurological disease in the world right now. It's estimated, according to 2021 stats, that there are 100,000 people in Canada with Parkinson's right now. 46,000 of those live in Ontario, probably because of the size of our population. Disturbing thing about that is that with the growing population, there's approximately one neurologist specializing in Parkinson's per 1,400 population. So it can be 11 to 18 months to 24 months wait from time of diagnosis to see a neurologist that specializes in Parkinson's. So you can imagine, because one of the non-motor parts of Parkinson's is anxiety and depression, that can immediately kick in. And I do have some personal experience with that. I waited to see a neurologist for about 18 months. And during that time, it was crazy. I don't have Parkinson's. I have something similar. But yeah, that was a crazy amount of time to have to wait. Another stat is that about 50% of the caregivers out there have told us that they are paying out of pocket for stuff to do with for medication and things to do with Parkinson's. Parkinson's is not a disease that's curable right now. Michael J. Fox and other people in the States are working diligently, and we are blessed in our community that we serve, to have folks like Western University, University up in Guelph, University down in Windsor, that's all in our area working on Parkinson's related research. Our community, the Parkinson's Society Southwestern Ontario, this is our region. This isn't my region, thankfully, but I'm in Elgin, Norfolk, Oxford, Middlesex, Perth, and Huron. So on Tuesday night, I was up in Lambton Shores making a presentation to their council. I'm making a tour of council presentations just to raise awareness of what we do. We offer support, programs and services, and we're not government funded at all. We're not ministry funded. So when we just had a recent walk for Parkinson's, it's really important to us to let people know that, including council, let you know that we're not funded at all by government. So we're really, we really rely on our things. We do have a golf tournament that we also operate in the London area every year, and that brought in, I think, $96,000 is incredible, but it just speaks to our population. I don't see the next slide here, so I'm taking a guess. Oh, okay. There are 4 of us, 9 staff in total across that entire region. And so we're pretty nimble, and we work really close to our budget, as you can imagine. So I have 3 counterparts in different regions: the North region, the East region, and the West region. And yeah, we are out there offering support programs and services for folks living with Parkinson's and their care partners as well. I think the next slide, I mentioned that we have our Walk for Parkinson's is our major fundraiser, and we raised $10,241 and rising. That our portal stays open for about 60 days, 45 to 60 days after our walk. That's why the asterisk is there. Generally, I don't like asterisks, but then that's important because it could and did rise last year. Across our region, we raised $525,000. Our goal was $544,000 for our operating budget for the year. So we were almost there, but that does climb, and we have a great community behind us. Part of our thing is education. I was just talking to Fanshawe today, college here in town, and we're hoping to set up some education events there. And we did that in London last school year as well. Raising the public awareness, general public awareness. That's why I'm here today. Family physicians it's a fastest growing neurological disorder in the world, but the education isn't keeping up with that. We hear a lot talked about Alzheimer's and dementias, and those seem to be getting traction, have gotten the traction. And part of our thing is education. So the family physicians, other healthcare professionals, mental health is a really big thing because Parkinson's has motor symptoms that you see on the outside, the shake, the tremor, whatnot that you see on the outside. But then there's a non-motor, the internal things that go on with a person living with Parkinson's. That's really important. So we also have a great relationship with King's University College of Western University, where we offer counseling through a partnership there with their social work program. So that's just a general overview of what we do at PSSSO. And again, thank you so much for allowing us to come in today.
Thank you. Any questions for the delegation? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Not so much a question, just a comment to thank Mr. Owen for coming. My grandfather and my father-in-law both lived with Parkinson's and both unfortunately passed away, but I know what it's like to see somebody live through this and watch it slowly but surely take away from them, sometimes in some very painful manners. So I applaud the work you're doing and thank you for doing what you're doing. And it's something that I support every single year, knowing what it's like to be in that.
We appreciate that and appreciate the connection that people have to Parkinson's. Speaking of which, we have someone in the room here. She wouldn't want to be pointed out, but Carrie is our facilitator or our support group here in town. So her facilitating that allows me to be in other areas on the last Monday of each month. So thank you, Carrie.
I was actually going to call her out on that, so.
Uh-oh.
I'm glad you did. Counselor Louder, now I can't get in trouble. Counselor Lauder.
Through the mayor to Mr. Owen, I want to thank you for your presentation. Also, we had in our family, one of our family passed away with Parkinson. So we know what suffering she went through. And thank you for bringing this awareness to the community, because it sometimes gets forgotten. And so good luck and thanks for all the work your group is doing.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Well, and I'd just like to say thank you as well. I was, of course, invited to the walk on
Yes.
September 8th, so was able to give greetings and thank all the volunteers and those
Unfortunately, I
donating.
was up in Grand Bend that day, so
Yeah.
I didn't see you, but.
No problem. I was there, and those watching at home today, I do suggest you go online, make a donation, and again, they could really use your help. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, folks.
Looking for a motion on the floor? Counselor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council receive the presentation from Parkinson Society of Southwestern Ontario as information.
Thank you. Second by Counselor Lauder. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Next up, 8C, sorry. Pam Walkerton, which is virtual. Oh, there she is there. And we'll remind Pam, you do have 10 minutes. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary Accioni, and I appreciate you giving me some time to share. My name is Pam Workington. I'm the Executive Director of CARST, RPP, which is Canada's National Radon Association and Certification Program. And I'm also the project manager on a program called Take Action on Radon. Take Action on Radon is an initiative that is funded by Health Canada to raise awareness on radon across Canada. And we have a program called the 100 Radon Test Kit Challenge that is one of our initiatives. That's the program that I'm presenting on today. The 100 Radon Test Kit Challenge provides communities with about 100 radon test kits free to distribute to their community members. It's a turnkey program. It provides all tools and resources for each step of the process. It's no cost to participating communities. And in this case, we worked with Blake with the Southwestern Public Health Unit to distribute them in the health region that included your community. And so we wanted to share the results with you. Now, this is not a new program. This is the 7th, or we're just entering the 7th year of this project, and we've conducted it across Canada, been able to work with over 120 communities in all 10 provinces. We've worked with 5 First Nations and 2 Métis groups. We've been able to distribute over 20,000 detectors, and one thing that we know is about 70% of them are used, so more than 14,000 homes have been tested through this project. And then we've also done a follow-up survey to see, how many people who tested high with high radon levels has fixed it and mitigated it. And we know that about 30% from the first 3 years mitigated once they found high levels, and we're continuing to research and see if we can help with increasing these numbers. I did send you a copy of the presentation, so there's all the communities in case you're curious of who we've done. This is the number of communities that we worked with over this past year, but we have worked with small hamlets as well as large centers, other health regions in Ontario in the past. Now, the goals of the program are to raise radon awareness, and I'll talk a little bit about why that's important in a minute, but it's also to work together with communities to generate data. And so that's sort of the goal I'm achieving by sharing that data with you today. And it's also to inspire legacy programs. So we want to continue to help with raising awareness on radon in the communities where we've worked with. And so I'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the project. Now, radon is a gas that is linked to lung cancer. It's the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers, and it greatly increases the risk of a smoker to also have lung over and above their current risk for lung cancer. And in Canada, Health Canada estimates that over 3,000 Canadians a year die of radon-related lung cancer. Now, radon comes from the soil. It's a part of the decay chain of uranium. And uranium is a solid. It's in the soil all across our country. We know it's there. We know we are a uranium-rich country. But uranium is just the start. It eventually decays into radon. And radon is a gas. So when it becomes radon, it moves up out of the air. It's in the air around us at low levels, but the concern is that it builds up to high levels in our homes, and that is what leads to a health risk. Now, because it comes through the contact with the ground, typically the highest levels are found in the basements. However, depending on how our housing systems work, it does evenly distribute radon levels throughout all levels of some homes, just depending on how the air is being distributed. So Health Canada recommends that people test their homes for a minimum of 3 months during the heating season, and that if the radon report comes back and finds that levels are above 200 becquerels per meter cubed, that they take action to reduce the levels in their home. So as part of this project, we distributed free radon kits through Southwestern Public Health. And at this point, each individual participant should have received their radon report by email. We encourage anybody that may have tested that if they don't have their report to reach out to us. This is an important part of the process, and emails do go awry these days. Either you just are overwhelmed with so many or the spam filters filter them out. So please let us know if you haven't received your report. But for this project, we were able to distribute 157 detectors. We saw that about 125 of the surveys were completed that started the detectors, and we've been able to issue about 115 reports. So we know that that's how many people completed the process. So we do know that there are some people that may have started their test and haven't returned it to us, and there's still time. People just can simply throw it in an envelope with a stamp and mail it back to us, and they can also start. If they haven't started their test at all, they can certainly do that. So for this project, we had about a return rate of 73%, so that's a little bit above our average. And so here's the results from those radon tests. The green in the pie chart shows that about almost 56% of the reports were below 100 becquerels. So that's a nice low level. About 30% were in this yellow zone here. So that's between 100 and 200 becquerels. So that's approaching our Health Canada guideline. And then the red and the purple here are the percentage of homes that were above the 200 becquerels. So 14% were above between 200 and 600 becquerels. And then there was one test that was between 600 and 1,000, but there was no detectors or no reports issued above 1,000 becquerels. And so we did break that down because we did test over a larger geographic area. We broke it down by postal code, and because we try and summarize it, we've used here just the first 3 digits, and I've highlighted the data from the Woodstock area. And so you will notice that the tests coming from the Woodstock area are the highest. So I'll just go over these columns. The purple columns here, so this is the number of data points that were from the Woodstock postal code areas. This is the percentage of those that were above the 200. This is the average of those results in those postal code areas. And then this was the highest radon level from those results. There was a survey that was done in about 2010 and 2011 by Health Canada. And so we did also just share the results there. So you could compare that there was some historical information about radon. But then as we gather more data, we do have more information about the radon levels in the area. We do also ask some optional questions. So not everybody completes these questions, but we just, we find that we get, when we present the data, there's some common questions that we get from communities. So to help answer those, I'll just share those right up front. So we do ask about the type of home, and you can see that most of the homes included in this project were single detached, but there were some semi-detached included, one participant from a condo or apartment and one from workplace. And so although these ones were below 200, it is possible for people even in apartments or condos to test above the level. So it is important for them also to be tested. Most of the participants owned their home, but there was one participant or two that rented, and one particularly is above the 200 level. And so this is important information because anyone who is a renter, in order to reduce the levels, it is something that needs to be done to the building. So they will have to contact their landlord, and this does usually require some additional support, especially because radon awareness still in our country is still relatively low. And so we do have some support materials that we do provide people if they are a renter. Now, another thing that we do, as I mentioned, our early research showed that about 30% who tested high are actually taking time to mitigate. And so we would like to increase this. And so we have started to ask them as they're dropping off their kit, just near the end of the test period, but before they get the results, once you get your results, how likely are you to mitigate? And this kind of gives us an idea of how much support and awareness material we might need to get to participants, just in case they do have. But we did actually have a number of participants in this project who were either quite likely or very likely. And so it does show that there was good readiness for participants in general to be ready to mitigate if that was necessary. And then another couple questions is about existing radon testing or knowledge or mitigation systems. And so there had been a couple of people who had previously tested, but most of the people in this project, this was the first time that they had tested their home for radon. And then there does seem to appear that there were a number of homes in this project that do have some radon control measures. And up to this point, currently in Ontario, the building code requires each municipality to make a decision about what radon measures should be included in their municipality. We know St. Thomas has a number of builders in the area that are including passive systems, and they have included radon in their building code. And so there was a number of participants that did seem to have some radon control measures already part of their home, but the majority of the participants had no radon control measures are installed. Another question we get is about age of construction. And so this just gives you a simple graph. The top line here is people who didn't know what their age of construction is or didn't provide it to us. But the green is the tests below 200, the red are just anyone that was above 200. And so you can see that the radon levels do go across all age of construction. So if somebody asks, is it a new home? Is it an old home? We just say every home should be tested. So we cannot predict it. So up to this is all data that we are just sharing through this. We do have a public facing report. And so this is what we will be pushing out soon, and which is why we wanted to present the information first to you and answer any of your questions before we make this totally public. But this is the community report from this project. There was, the first page shows the participants from this project and the homes. Green is below 100, yellow is between 100 and 200, and then red is the percentage of homes just above 200. And then the second page is just some general information about radon. So we will be posting this on our website. We also provided some information about, how do you fit in Ontario. So we have conducted surveys, as well as some of the other public health regions have done their own surveys. And so that's what the results are in other communities. And then there is a national certification program. So anyone who does need to reduce their level, we do have mitigation professionals they can reach out to on the CNRPP website to help them. And then there is also a national grant. Canadian Lung Association provides a grant for homeowners who are in the low to moderate income, or anybody who does have a lung cancer diagnosis can apply for a $1,500 grant. And then on Ontario, the Ontario home warranty does also cover radon mitigation. So anyone who is in a home and tests within the first 7 years and has levels above 200 can apply to have their mitigation system covered under their Ontario home warranty. And then I provided some just general information. Health Canada has developed radon action guides for municipalities. And so that information is here as well. And I've got the slides here to answer any of your questions. I thank you very much for the time, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, from the chair through to Ms. Walkerton. I guess the best question would be is, like carbon monoxide, radon is odorless, is it not? Like you would, in theory, would not know what's in your house unless you tested for it.
Yes, Mayor, this is correct. So the only way to know is to test.
As a follow-up, just curious as to, was there any telltale signs, for example, when I looked at your year-by-year statistics, why I say Winnipeg was tested early, but so was Baden, which isn't that far from Woodstock here?
It's just been according to engagement with the community. So as communities have reached out to us and wanted to work with us, that's basically determined who we've worked with. There is public health does have a priority to do radon surveys. And so that's why often in Ontario, we've been working with public health, but it's just up to them to reach out to us.
Thank you. Any other questions of the delegation? I do have one for you, if you don't mind. I'm curious myself if you mentioned in the report, and it was a great report, by the way. I didn't know much about it. I learned, well, everything. Wasn't familiar with it at all. But it was a little alarming with one address at least has between 600 and 1,000 added. In a case like that, then, is there something you do to go to the household, let them know? Do you go to the neighbors around? Because if they have it, likely the neighbors do around, my understanding. What happens there for anybody watching at home?
Yeah, so we provide the report as well as some information about how to interpret the numbers. We did provide a follow-up email to anybody that was above 200 to say, you know, you're tested above 200, you should take action. Here's some information. But because this is something that involves your home, it is up to each of us just to make the decision about what we do to make our home safe. So we won't take action. We don't have jurisdiction for that. But it's up to the homeowner to take action on it. We certainly are here to answer questions and support and direct towards grants or subsidies as we can. We also, of your question about surrounding homes. So it is likely that in an area that, you know, one tests home, that and others will test home, but you actually can't predict on a street. So even when we do map the data, just in case there's any concerning area. But what we typically find is one house is high, the neighboring house could be low. You really can't predict it. For some reason, the uranium silt is just spread throughout our soil, and the way our homes, so that's the source, and then the other is the way our homes are constructed, draws the gas in, the soil gas in from the ground differently. So really, each home needs to be tested individually. We can't predict it from what the neighbor's house is.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Then if anybody wants to get tested, do they have to purchase these tests if somebody else wants it as well from you?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there is on our website. So we're an awareness program. And so on takeactiononradon.ca, we provide a list of companies that sell them online. It is difficult to find them in stores. So there are Canadian Tire stores. There are some stores that you can go in and actually purchase them, but it's not, they're not easy to find. So that's why we've provided a list on our website that people can order them from and purchase them. We also are, willing to work with other municipalities. And so if this is something that a municipality is willing to work with, we could work directly with you under this program. Because we've already run it in your community, the next year would be at a cost. So it's 100 detectors at $30 each, sort of for the future years.
Okay, thank you. Any final questions of the delegation? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thank you for coming today.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Maria Accioni and council. Really appreciate the time to be able to talk to this. And I provided my contact information. We are here to support if you have any additional questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Looking for a motion on the floor. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council receive the presentation from Pam Workington regarding 100 random test kit challenge as information.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion? Councillor Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Accioni. I just wanted to point out that the tests aren't super expensive. Like you can look online and they are a little bit more, but they are available for not a terrible expense. And I would think as a preventative measure, a great step to take. In addition to this delegation, I'll just say that Southwestern Public Health has a lot of information on their website that if people have further questions, there's a lot of information on there, a lot of data, statistics, and where to find help if you need it. So just wanted to point that out as an additional resource.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Next up, 8D, James Burnett, ViewTech. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for having me. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is James Burnett. I'm here to represent ViewTech Canada with the proposal of ViewTech to purchase a portion of 920 Keys Drive. With ViewTech, we've been around since 1988. Obviously, we've been growing quite a bit, and with this proposal, this will help with ViewTech as well, possibly expanding an additional 49,000 square feet to obviously further job opportunities and growth for Woodstock. And then as well with ViewTech now, we're up to about 1,200 ViewTech employees. And this will also help with the safety with about 80% of our employees have to park over at Plant 2 and cross the Keys Drive. So with this help, this will make it so that we can cross safely across without traffic. And ViewTech's obviously definitely first about safety. So I don't really have anything more, just that's any questions?
Perfect. No, thank you very much. Any questions? No. Thank you very much for bringing it forward. I got to say, ViewTech's a great community partner, of course. We're really happy they're here. Of course, going from 40,000 square feet in 1988 to 458,000 square feet now, obviously very much growing in our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, there's no resolutions required as this is referred to department reports a little later on, item 14E.1. So moving along, no core consideration of planning reports, but we do have some consideration of correspondence. 10A, looking for a motion on the floor for St. John's Ambulance. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve the request from St. John Ambulance Southwestern Ontario Region to place mobile road signs from October 7th, 2024 to November 4th, 2024, subject to staff approval.
Thank you. Looking for a seconder? Counselor Schadenberg. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, let those know at home that are watching, the current location is going to be closing. Unfortunately, in the report, I did not see where they're moving to. So I can't tell you that yet, but October 7th, you'll see signs at their Canterbury Street location. So if you do happen to go there, you'll see where their new location is. And with that, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? That is carried. No staff presentations, no mayor's reports, no council reports, but we do have some department reports today. Starting with Administrative Services, 14A.1, authorization of a tax arrears extension agreement. Looking for a motion. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the Director of Administrative Services to sign an extension agreement for the property at 1033 Petula Avenue, Unit 17, Woodstock, Ontario, with Mr. Murray there.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion or questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? That is carried. Next up, we have engineering, Warwick Flooding EA Amendment. Looking for a motion. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council accepts the report entitled Warwick and Norwich Area Flooding Study Municipal Class EA Schedule B, July 2012, and that the report be posted for a 30-day public comment period.
Thank you. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Or questions of staff? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, from the mayor through to the engineering department, Mr. DeHaan, give us a quick overview as to, I guess, some of the more recent history with this Warwick flooding area.
Your worship, through the councillor. Yeah, this is a project that has been going on for quite a while. Originally started over 10 years ago. We did an EA due to some flooding problems in a couple areas of town, and subsequent to that EA being completed, we completed a number of the sub projects that made up the preferred option. However, when we came to like the last option, the price tag and the inconvenience and the work that needed to be done turned out to be a lot more than what we had originally expected and then so we decided to undertake this amendment to see if there weren't any other options. So we retained a consultant to reopen the EA, and based on that, the preferred option really is on-site mitigation measures on the 8 properties that are identified in the report.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Just a comment, and I did reach out to Mr. DeHaan about this earlier, just to make sure if people are reading the report. I mean, it dates back to 2012, so it shows you it's been going on for a while, but it does reference DM Sutherland School, and that obviously is now Winchester Public School, but if some folks read that and get a little bit thrown off by what's happening, that's, I did reach out just to ask if this was anything that needed to be clarified or changed, but I'm sure others will notice that there is that slight change with the name of the school being amended.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. I do recommend those living in that area to kind of pay attention to the report. All the details, of course, are online if you want more information. Next up, we have 14B.2 Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program. Looking for a motion, Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council direct staff to prepare and submit an application for the Pittock Park Road urbanization to the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, Housing Enabling Core Servicing Stream, MHIP-HECS.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Martin. Discussion or questions? Counselor Lauder?
I really think this is an appropriate use of submitting this application. It is a dark road and it's a lot of traffic on there, especially coming out onto 59 highway. It's amazing the amount of traffic. So I think that the sooner this gets done, if it's approved, then the better. And the lighting and all, and there's a lot of people that walk there or ride their bikes there too. So it's, it'll be a great program if it's approved.
And for those watching at home, of course, we're talking about Pittock Park Road improvements. Counselor Schanberg.
Yeah, I was just curious if there's something missing from our possible motion here. This was to refer also to the continuation of Carn Road around Cache Home subdivision, was it not?
It was one or the other. We can only choose one project to apply for.
Okay,
And staff is recommending that Pittock Park Road is more ready to fit in the timeline. If that's correct, I'm getting a nod. So, if that answers the question. Okay. Next up, Counselor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. It is 2028 that this project, March 31st of 2028, that it has to be completed, or is it 2027? I was reading in the application guidelines.
Your worship, through the counselor. I think it's 28. I know we were planning on moving the project forward a little bit if we did get approval.
So then just as a follow-up, March 31st is obviously the provincial year end. Finishing a construction project of this nature actually kind of means we have to finish it in the calendar year prior to that.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and that's, I'm assuming we wouldn't suggest this if that wasn't feasible. We can make that work.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Next up, we're going to get into something a little different around here. 14B.3 Gould Drain and Jackson Drain Court of Revision. So first, council must pass a motion to enter a committee of the whole to convene for the Court of Revision. So Councillor Schanberg.
yeah, the council now rise and go into committee of the whole for the purpose of convening the court of revision for the Gould Drain and Jackson Drain.
Thank you. A seconder, I'm sorry. Councillor Martin, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? We are now in the meeting of the whole. Thank you. We're now in Court of Revision. The Draining Act requires that Woodstock appoint 2 members of council to the court as the initiating municipality, and that East Sora Tavistock appoint 1 member. Councillor Schanberg has volunteered in advance to be 1 member of the court. I, as chair, would act as the 2nd Woodstock member. Are there any objections? Seeing none, I'll also invite Councillor Jeremy Smith as a representative of East Sora Tavistock to join us. Welcome, Councillor Smith. There you go.
Thank you, Your Worship.
No problem. Thank you.
Good to be with you for what appears to be a rare piece of business within your urban boundary and at your council table.
First time in my 10 years I've done this, so. The purpose of the Court of Revision is to hear appeals regarding the schedule of assessment only. The Court of Revision has no authority to change the engineer's report in any way. The schedule of assessment may be altered, but the total must remain the same. If one assessment is reduced, then other assessments must be increased to balance. If the court is considering adding to the assessment of any properties whose owners are not in attendance, the court must adjourn and send notice to assessed property owners who are not in attendance today to allow the reassessed landowners to appeal their new assessments. No written appeals were filed by the statutory deadline of 10 days before the Court of Revision, that being September 23rd of 2024 was the deadline. Are there any other assessed landowners who wish to appeal their assessment? If so, I'd ask that you come forward and state your name, address, and assessment roll number. Seeing none. Seeing as we have no appeal, can I please get a motion to accept late appeals? I don't need that because there is none. Yep. Seeing none, can I also get a motion declaring no late appeals will be accepted? Councillor Schattenberg?
Yeah, that the City of Woodstock Court of Revision for the Gould Drain and Jackson Drain hereby declares that late appeals will not be accepted.
Seconded by Councillor Smith. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. I'll now call on Mr. Curtis McIntyre, Drainage Engineer, to provide information on the assessment for these drains. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Typically, with there being no appeals, I wouldn't bother to comment, but I thought I'd just take like 2 minutes to explain why we're here today. So, yeah, so the ultimate purpose of what this drain report was for the abandonment of the Jackson and Gould drains that are within the City of Woodstock limits. And the secondary purpose was preparing new maintenance schedules for East Shore Tavistock to use. The maintenance schedules, future maintenance schedules, are what we refer to as Schedule B in this report, and I'll flip up to it in a second. The actual physical cost of preparing this report is split evenly between the two developments. That was a requirement of the city. And that's Schedule A. So this report costs, and along typically with construction, most of our projects involve construction. That cost would normally be what owners would come here and appeal their assessment for. Is a tangible cost to be paying now. But there is also the secondary component of future costs, could be 40, 50, 60 years down the line for repair or improve maintenance of the drain. And those assessments are appealable too as a part of this report. So I'll just skip up here to Schedule A real quick. This schedule here, this is Schedule A. So this is the cost to repair the report was $18,000. As I said, split evenly between the two developments, and obviously they're not here to appeal, but they had never had any quarrel with that when I had talked to them. And then the secondary component is the maintenance schedules. So basically, when we're doing original construction work on a drain, there are two primary categories that we drainage engineers split our costs up into, and that's benefit and outlet assessment costs. Basically, right in the term, benefit assessments are applied to properties or owners of properties where the drain goes directly through their property or reaches their property, and therefore their property obtains a tangible benefit or increased value of their property for the drain being there. And then outlet costs are anybody further up in the watershed who shed water during a storm off of their land down into the areas that are then having the drainage issues. So those are the two costs that we break things down into. And we have formulas for how we distribute those benefit and outlet costs. And then for what we're here today, the schedule of future maintenance, typically we take the formulas we use for construction of benefit outlet ratio. If it was, say, a 50% benefit to 50% outlet, we would likely half that to a 25% benefit, 75% outlet for our future maintenance schedules. The premise of that is because during original construction is when the benefit is applied to or given, the benefit is given to those properties, and that in the future, the drain exists, and if you have to do repair or maintenance work, that it's kind of more of a share of everybody's costs in the watershed, everybody who's using the drain. So that's why we kind of factor down the heavy benefit on the people who have the drain on their property. So that's what we did here. We looked at roughly what the cost would be to fully replace the Jackson and the Gould drains. Now in East or Tavistock, kind of came up with those costs. I can go down here to the appendix, which kind of shows that. Up in the top here, $45,000 is kind of what it would cost to repair or completely replace the drain in interval 2. And down here for the Gould drain, $75,000. So we took those costs, then basically applied 25% factor on a benefit onto the properties for which have the drain on their property, and they get a benefit charge, and then the rest is distributed as outlet. And that then works back up to here. And what we're looking to get out of all this is a percentage. These are just hypothetical numbers. The dollars here are hypothetical numbers. We have no idea when maintenance or repair work will be done in the future. It's just hypothetical. We use that to get the percentages. So the percentages in the right column are what each owner who is in the drain would pay when there is X dollars amount of repair work to be done. And East or Tavistock staff would use that and apply that when that is to occur in the future. So that's what we do. And that's all I really have to add. I know there's no appeals here anyways, but I just wanted to have everyone understand why we're here today. And I just want to, again, add, I said last time, but this is a new avenue for City of Woodstock, and city staff and council have done an excellent job through this process. So it's gone really well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, do you have any comments or questions? Councillor Smith.
I just wanted to say, as we've already discovered, that it goes without saying that landowners, ratepayers in East or Tavistock have accepted the engineer's report at face value. It appears no written appeals, no verbal or late appeals. Certainly simplifies things for the Court of Revision. The important piece, of course, for East or Tavistock and any landowner in the watershed north of Oxford Road 17 is that the water in the Gould and the Jackson continues to find its way to the river against any ongoing changes on the City of Woodstock development lands. But all in all, an excellent report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Shanberg.
From the mayor through to the delegation, I guess my best question would be is, since there's already development taking place at these two sites, is there already a culvert under County Road 17 for the water to leave East or Tavistock to enter the City of Woodstock, so to speak?
Yes, through the chair. Yeah, there are culverts, there are surface culverts at both locations. So surface water can flow through. The physical drain, which is a subsurface drain, is probably about a meter or so deep. As Councillor Smith was asking as well, through the plans and consultation coordination with the engineers of both of the two developments, there are dedicated storm sewer systems that go through, that are being built right now. One of the first pieces they have to do is being built right now through the subdivision lands to maintain the outlet for those two drains. Those are always with subdivisions, the storm outlets are always kind of the first things they do, and they are working on those right now. Yeah. And I think there was one instance this spring where construction crew, heavy equipment drove over and broke a pipe and then flooded a field up north, but north of the road in East Sora. East Sora staff, myself and Woodstock staff were there, and we met and we found the solution and got it repaired, and the contractor got it repaired that week. That was before crops even went on. So it happens, but it got addressed and fixed. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we want to hear for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other further deliberations? Seeing none? I'll now read the recommendation and ask for a mover and a seconder. The recommendation is that the assessment contained in engineer's report is upheld. Do I have a mover? Councillor Smith, a seconder, Councillor Schanberg. All those in favor? Motion is carried. All decisions made today can be appealed to the Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs Appeal Tribunal. The authorizing bylaw will be given a third and final reading at a future council meeting following that appeal period. Can I get a motion to adjourn the Court of Revision? Councillor Schanberg. Second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Thank you. Next up, we are adjourned. Now, can I get a motion of council to exit the committee of the whole and proceed with our regular council meeting? Councillor Schanberg.
The Woodstock City Council now rise and exit committee of the whole.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? We are back into our council meeting. Councillor Smith, thank you very much for attending today and doing that. Thank you very much. Mr. McIntyre, enjoy. Good. So moving along, we do have from cultural services, do not have anything from cultural services, but we do have Parks and Recreation reports tonight. So starting with 14D.1, Cowapalooza budget pre-approval. Looking for a motion? Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize pre-approval of the 2025 revenue fund budget of $155,000 for Cowapalooza.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wismer Van Meer. Discussion or questions? Councillor Leatherborough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd request the clerk for a recorded vote, please.
Okay, she's getting hers out. Any other further questions? Sorry, I did see a hand up. Councillor Schanberg.
Yeah, from the mayor through to either the Parks and Recreation Department or to Kristen Broadhagen, the manager of special events. Because of the fact that we haven't done capital or revenue budgets yet for 2025, just an overview for the public as to why we're approving this budget today.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Worship, through to the councilor's question. So Cowapalooza is a signature event, as you know, within the city of Woodstock that I know the community looks forward to yearly. And booking the headliner for Cowapalooza Rocks ahead of time is crucial to ensure that we get the high caliber of entertainment that the public is typically seen the past 21 years of this event. So we really do appreciate your consideration of pre-approving this budget line.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or comments? Seeing none. Just making sure there's time. Okay, I'll turn it over to the clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we start with the mover, Councillor Tate.
Yes.
Counselor Wismer Van Meer,
Yes.
Mayor Accioni,
Yes.
Counselor Lauder,
Yes.
Counselor Leatherbarrow,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
and Counselor Schadenberg.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, I think it's great to have staff the direction now to go ahead, get us some great bands or band members. You know who my pick is. I'm not going to say it out loud. Unfortunately, that amount of money won't cover it. I know. Anyways, next up, we have 14D.2, Innovation Way Trail Naming. Looking for a motion. Counselor Lauder?
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a 25-year sponsorship agreement to name the trail at the end of Innovation Way as Maglan Trail.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Tate? Discussion or questions? Counselor Lauder?
Just a comment. I really think this is well-deserved honor for the Maglan family. They have contributed so much to our community through just the art gallery. And there's just so many things that they've contributed to. So I'm glad to be able to put this motion forward.
Thank you. Counselor Tate?
Yeah, I reached out to Ian McCaskill, who owns Maglan, and they've been in business for over 40 years. So I'm just going to read off a little. I've asked them if they wanted any comments. So from the family, it's Maglan Site Furniture is dedicated to creating healthy outdoor spaces for communities and views the sponsorship of Maglan Trail as a natural extension of this mission. The trail provides a serene place for reflection and exercise while supporting stormwater management and native ecosystems. Maglan Trail will not only enhance the local landscape, but hopefully inspire community involvement in environmental stewardship. And just to follow up, when they first moved to that location, I was out there talking to Ian and he was talking about the water retention pond. And so I reached out to staff way back when, and they started working right away on it because Mr. McCaskill wanted somewhere where the staff from Maglan could go out on their lunch and enjoy it and be safe because we don't fence it. So this has been a long-term project and very happy to see it, and it will be beautiful.
Yes, for sure. Anyone else? I'd like to simply say thank you to Maglan as well, being such a great community supporter, a great business to have here. And of course, it doesn't matter where you go, you see their work throughout North America, I hazard to guess. So it's fantastic. And with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed? That is carried. Next up, 14D.3, Woodstock Special Events. Looking for a motion? Counselor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. That Woodstock City Council approve the recommended changes to the special events beginning in 2025 as outlined in this report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder on that? Counselor Lauder? Discussion? Counselor Martin?
Yeah, no, I just want to offer my full support. I think it's a great idea to merge Cultural Canvas along with Street Fest. The more people we can bring together to mutually benefit both programs, both events, is a win. I'm looking forward to see what a fall event might look like in lieu of the Easter egg hunt. So look forward to further information on that.
Thank you. Counselor Wismer Van Meer?
I guess maybe a bit of a comment. The reason I'm not going to support this motion at this time is I like the idea of Cultural Canvas moving into Street Fest. I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm a little bit hesitant about a fall themed event September and October are very busy times within our community with a lot of community events that take place. And I did have a chance to speak to Ms. Broadhagen ahead of time, and we kind of chatted a little bit, just kind of explaining why I was hesitant. I just, off the top of my head, came up with about 6 events that take place in September and October, between the Parkinson's Walk, Hike for Hospice, the Terry Fox Run, Truth and Reconciliation Day. We have Theater Woodstock kicks off their season every year. Big Brothers Big Sisters has their charity ball. Sister City, are down celebrating with our sister city in Sylvania. It just becomes a very busy time. So I'm a little bit hesitant without knowing ahead of time what kind of event we're looking at and when it could potentially happen. I'm not opposed to this ever happening, and I'm not opposed to it being something that could potentially come to be. I just can't support it right now when we don't know for certain. And I know there's a lot of groups and organizations out there that might be a little bit thrown off or potentially feel a little bit threatened if there's another event coming to the city that could take away from them. So just, I think a little bit of time to plan ahead would make me feel more comfortable in this situation.
Thank you. Councillor Leatherborough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Wismer Van Meer for those comments. I agree. I won't be supporting the recommendation either. I would be more comfortable looking at this for potentially 2026. Cultural Canvas this year, I believe was the 2nd year, and it did rain, and I know outdoor events that can be a deterrent. I applaud Kristen for all the work she does with special events, and I would like to see Cultural Canvas one more time next year, allowing the BIA membership and board to perhaps continue to work together and elevate this event. Furthermore, with the streetscape phase 1 construction potentially starting next spring, it could certainly be nice to have a well-rounded event like Cultural Canvas in Museum Square, again, maybe taking advantage of the road closure, and then Street Fest continuing not too far after. Lastly, I think it would be good practice to give families some time, 1 year, to know that we will be moving away from the Easter egg hunt. I know my kids don't need any more chocolate, but it's good to give people some extra time to prepare. So I will not be supporting the recommendation. And because I'm virtual, I'm going to put my hand icon up when it comes to not in favor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none others, then I'm having a tough time with this one. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be voting in favor of it, and that's really because of the Easter egg hunt. That's an event that I've been to for numerous years. It is a well-attended, well-rounded community event that is kind of unique in itself, and I'm having a tough time letting go of it. I mean, there was probably between 1,500 and 2,000 children out that we gave out chocolates. It was a great event, and the entire community can attend. Cultural Canvas, if the BIA was in support of it, going to Street Fest, I'd love that idea. Anything else we can do that way. But for the reason of the Easter egg hunt, I'm going to be voting against it as well. So anyone else before I call the vote? Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. Could I ask the clerk, would procedurally an amendment to a motion to divide these 2 issues? Would that be an option at this point?
Your worship, through to Councillor Martin, given that the motion on the floor specifically speaks to the way that the report is written, so as outlined in the report, I would suggest if we wanted to consider those 2 events separately, would then essentially either withdraw this motion or defeat it and then put those 2 separate, because there's nothing technically to divide here, unfortunately, the way that it's written.
So could I ask my peers, would there be an appetite if I withdrew the motion to reword the motion to consider one event and not the other? Just
Any objection? Councillor Leatherborough?
Sorry, thanks, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Martin. I will just say that I'd rather just this report come back in 2025. That's my preference.
Well, without unanimous support, we are going to continue on with this and see where it goes. Okay, Councillor Leatherborough, you still have something else? Okay, nope, she just took her hand down. With that, oh, Councillor Lauder?
Would just through the mayor to Mr. Connors, would you like to speak to this as to, you just tell us kind of what the idea is for this?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. The rationale to do changes to both events, I'll start off with moving cultural canvas to Street Fest, and that would just be Street Fest is a very successful event, but there are areas where there's gaps in between buildings that don't have any thing going on in the street, and we would just be there to promote and to do some extra work. It would be almost like trying to bring some of the highlights of cultural canvas into Street Fest and making Street Fest just at a higher level. This would in no way, though, be a means of taking anything away from the BIA in them running Street Fest. It would just be the city would add a little bit more to the Street Fest. As far as the Easter egg hunt, this is the one special event that we do have some health and safety concerns with, just from the way it's run. It's popular, certainly, but there are a lot of youth or little kids running kind of for eggs all the time. This is the one event that we do get some complaints about, as far as kids that are more aggressive and less aggressive, or parents that are more or less aggressive. So we thought that trying to add some more programming to the downtown and the square specifically with a fall themed events, I would say that we would be very cautious not to step on any current events feet on that, and we would try to program something in this fall themed event for the same age category as the Easter egg hunt. We haven't gotten that far on that, but those were the discussions that we've had initially on that.
Okay, anyone, Councillor Tate?
Through the chair to Mr. Connors, so just curious, has there been a lot of complaints about the Easter egg hunt? I have the same concerns as the mayor. Very well attended, everybody seemed to be happy, so is it a major concern of the complaints that we're getting?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, no, it's not a major complaint. I certainly wouldn't want it categorized as that. There is some concerns because we have seen other municipalities pull out of those type of event structure just because of problems. So we wanted to try to head that off before it happened here.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, what we'll do is we'll call the vote. All those in favor of the current vote, which is to cancel them. Opposed? 4-3. Motion carried. Next up, 14D.4, Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund Grant Application. Looking for a motion? Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. That Woodstock City Council approved the grant application for Southside Pool Change Room expansion for Stream 1 of the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund.
Thank you. Looking for a seconder? Counselor Schadenberg, discussion or questions of staff? Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, from the mayor through to Brian Connors one more time, not getting much of a break this afternoon, Brian, but I guess the question would be is, as our report suggested, three possible options of areas, but when it's all said and done, this possible funding for a possible project in Woodstock is just that. It is possible. It's not necessarily something that we're chiseling in stone.
Your worship, through to the councilor's question. The grant here is for $200 million that's in there. It's estimated that there's over $10 billion in need for sport and recreation in this province alone, and there'll be hundreds of applications. So the chance that we are successful in this is low, but we would always want to put our name on the ticket in case we are successful. But in this case, I do think there's going to be lots and lots of applications, given the need out there in the province.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Schadenberg?
I guess I just want to follow up on what Brian said. It really is one of these things where you're applying for a grant and everyone in the province or everyone in the country, depending on if it's a federal or a provincial grant process, would love to have it. I just don't want anyone to think that if they look at the minutes or the agenda of today's meeting, that the city is going forward with option number one in a grant process. That's for the application process of it. Doesn't necessarily mean those dollars would be approved. And of course, we got our 4-year rolling capital budget that we kind of look at from one year to the next year to the next year as far as major capital projects go.
Yes, thank you. Counselor Leatherborough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to tie into what Mr. Connors said, in the report, it indicated, according to the Financial Accountability Office of Ontario, the estimated provincial rec infrastructure deficit has grown from $5 billion in 2007 to $9.5 billion in 2021. So I appreciate this coming forward to council, and I wish Mr. Connors and the Parks and Rec team the most luck applying for funds.
Thank you. Counselor Tate.
Yes, just through the chair, a couple of comments. My, of course, first choice was Lions Pool because I want to see that location back to where it's always been in the community. It's been 75 years that it's in, and to me, it's a community pool, but I'll save all those comments for later. I just want to acknowledge that all the work that the Woodstock Public Swimmers Club has done in presentation, which gave, I think, very clear information to council on the outdoor pools, a lot of stuff I hadn't thought of, which they brought forward. So that's why it brought Lions Pool back to the main thing for me. And just acknowledge that they did send a letter saying they supported whatever grant application we were going through, but they would also, if we went with the recommendation, that they would like to see Lions Pool brought forward under capital consideration. So I will be bringing that forward, and I'll save my comments on that when it comes forward. But I just want to acknowledge that they did send a letter, very well written. Their presentation was very well done, and I look forward to when the capital budget comes and we can discuss it further. And just further to that, because I understand how the process works for the grant, getting the grant, and I know chances are slim to none. I didn't want to put Lions Pool in it because I didn't want Lions Pool to get lost while we're waiting to find out, and then we do capital and we're still waiting. So fully supportive of this recommendation.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? I'll just add that I think our chances are best with an application like this, with something that we've stated for a while that's needed with the change rooms. I believe that helps our chances to get funding, and we do need all the chances we can get. So I certainly appreciate the staff report and even Councillor Tate's comments about the Woodstock Swim Club. I agree, they've brought it forward, but we'll see how that goes with budget times. And with that, anyone else before I call the vote? All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Next up, we have economic development. 14E.1, proposal for ViewTech to purchase a portion of Keys Drive between Longworth Lane and 920 Keys Drive. Looking for a motion on the floor. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council receive the report regarding proposal for ViewTech to purchase a portion of Keys Drive between Longworth Lane and 920 Keys Drive as information.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lauder, discussion? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
I'm not sure if Mr. Magyar can maybe answer this question. It was asked of me earlier today, and I didn't have a chance to reach out to you before, so my apologies. Somebody asked with the potential closure of that street and the purchase, they were questioning if ViewTech employees would still be able to enter off of Longworth, or if it's only going to be from Keys. They were just questioning how that closure would look, and I wasn't completely sure I knew the answer.
Your worship, through the councilor's question, that's basically why we're doing a more involved traffic study. I think you will see a change in traffic flow among UTEC employees. I think the gentleman who was here suggested that a lot of the parking that currently happens at the 920 Keys Drive property will actually move across the street to their new plant. So it may change the flow a little bit, but again, once we do the more involved traffic study, we'll know more.
This microphone today, driving me nuts. Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Again, as mentioned, thank you to ViewTech for being such a good community supporter, but of course we want to make sure we get the other business owners in that area and make sure we get all the proper information. Looking for 14E.2, extension of build commitment. Looking for a motion on the floor. Councillor Schanberg.
The Woodstock City Council authorized the mayor and clerk to amend the performance requirements of the purchase and the sale agreement with Rajesh Aurora to provide for the extension of the commitment to construct a building to the end of 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Martin. Discussion or questions of staff? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Next up, we have clerks. 14F.1, Integrity Commissioner and Closed Meeting Investigator Appointment. Looking for a motion. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council terminate the Integrity Commissioner and closed meeting investigation agreement between the Corporation of the City of Woodstock and Robert J. Swayze, and further that City Council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement to appoint Aird and Burles LLP as Woodstock's Integrity Commissioner and closed meeting investigator for a term ending February 28th, 2027.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tate. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed? That is carried. I was just informed that the fire chief is running a little bit late. So if it's okay, I'm gonna move ahead. And we'll come back to that if nobody opposes. Seeing none? All right. We will come back for those watching at home. Of course, we're talking about 14I fire services. So we'll come back to that. Nothing from information technology tonight, but we do have special committee and advisory task force reports. And 15A is Woodstock Community Grants Advisory Committee. Looking for a motion on the floor. No one's going to move anything? Oh, thank you. Councillor Martin?
Sorry, I was back a bit. Did we miss 14I.1, or are we also deferring that one along with the fire chief?
Sorry, yes, both
Okay.
fire services report is what I was suggesting if I didn't make that clear. So
Okay.
sorry about that. Yes,
So I will make the motion on 15A if you.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So moved by myself that in accordance with the Community Grants Policy GA003, that Woodstock City Council allocates the following grants for the year 2024. So the organizations are the 13th Woodstock Scouts for $3,000, Muslim Association of Woodstock for $3,000, Operation Sharing for $10,000, Oxford Community Foundation for $4,000, Oxford County Community Health Center for $3,000, Oxford Winds Community Concert Band for $2,000, Why Not Us for $3,000, Woodstock Curling Center for $4,500, Woodstock Dragon Boat Club, $2,100, Woodstock Legion Athletic Club for $2,600, and Woodstock Minor Football Association for $3,000. And further, that Woodstock City Council authorizes the remaining account balance from account 0204-83747-0000 be carried over to the 2025 budget year to provide supplemental funding for the 2025 Community Grants Program.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder on that? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Leatherborough, is that for a seconder?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Leatherborough? Oh. You want to speak to it? As your motion? Oh. Councillor Martin?
Thank you. Also having troubles with the microphone. Yeah, I'll just say that this is the second time that the Community Grants Committee meets in this calendar year. I would say it took us about an hour to go through the applications. There was a lot of discussion around the social needs in our community, and yet there weren't a lot of applications to address that, as there has been previously. So that was a little bit of a surprise to the committee. But I'm happy to entertain any questions if anyone has any questions on specific grants. Happy to speak to that if staff are also interested in speaking to what qualifies and what doesn't.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lauder, did I see your hand up? Thank you. Councillor Lauder?
Thank you. First is a comment on the operation sharing request. First of all, I would like to thank the Grants Committee. Having been on this committee in previous years, I know it's not an easy task to decide the recipients of the grants. So just a comment for the operation sharing, this being so underfunded, I know the need is there. I'm not criticizing the application, but why is the county not funding this need for budgeting to assist this very need in our community? I'm aware that the county has recently announced a grants funding. It is my hope that Operation Sharing will apply for the funding, indicating the need for more support. And I would like to thank Tim Dukes and all those involved in working to provide the service in our community. So the next two I have a concern with. The Oxford County Foundation certainly impact many organizations in Oxford County, for which I am very thankful. My question is, why would the city of Woodstock be granting money to an organization that is making grants to organizations within our community? Should this not be part of their operating expenses? And are we the only municipality in Oxford County that has been requested to provide funds for them? And I'll go to the next one, and unless Ms. Martin or Ms. Buchanan would like to speak to that one, and then I could speak to the next one.
I'll ask staff if they wish to qualify, to speak to why the applicant qualified or didn't qualify. And then I'm certainly more than happy to speak to the committee's decision.
Through your worship to Councillor Lauder. So that the reason that approved or was on the committee was because it's an operating cost and that organization is considered nonprofit. So that's why it was included.
So specifically, then I'll follow up that the Community Foundation, this is not a grant that they would then move forward to grant it forward. The funding was identified a need to streamline and integrate their data systems. And so it is an overall transition in integrating their customer relationship management system, or CRM, their accounting and communications, to free up staff time and allow them to focus on fundraising and granting. So my understanding is that this would qualify as a one-time only grant request. And so the committee put it forward for approval.
Councillor Lauder?
Oh, here. Oh. Okay. So are the one of you aware that they might have asked other municipalities within Oxford County, because this funding for the Oxford Community Foundation is spread out throughout the whole of Oxford County, not just for the city of Woodstock?
Through your worship to Councillor Lauder. No, I'm afraid I don't know if there was any other requests made to other municipalities.
Thank you. And so the next one, it's the Oxford County Community Health Center. This is a provincially funded organization. Why is the city of Woodstock being asked to provide funds for this organization? Is this not a county responsibility to assist those in transitional housing? And I'm all for transitional housing. I just don't understand why it's the city of Woodstock that's being asked to provide the funds. And I understand this is for a gift, a voucher to go to Canadian Tire, and it's for $300. And it's to get what's needed to dishes and whatever they need for the setting up of this transitional housing. So I just wondered if there's anything else on that.
Okay, through your worship to Councillor Lauder. So in that case, it's actually, the baskets are prepared. So all those items are actually in the basket given to the people going into the new housing. It was an item that was talked about by the committee, and I'm sure Councillor Martin will speak to that. We felt it did hit within the qualifications for the policy, as the policy's written. It's not really social services and it's not really healthcare, which would have invalidated it or made it ineligible.
Thank you. Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. I'll just add some context from the committee's perspective. So it is to purchase the $300 worth of value of kits that are pre-prepared for people moving into transitional homes. Definitely a dramatic need in our community. The Housing Stability Program through Oxford County Community Health Center is not funded by the province. It is 100% funded through grants.
Thank you. And if I may add, I was not able to attend this time, but I was provided a copy and I did read through, and anybody is more than welcome. There's a lot of asks and a lot more details, of course. And I know the committee and thank the committee for going through all of that again. Question, Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
not sure if it's a question or a comment, but I guess maybe it is a question. When we have, I think it's $19,300, what, like the balance that's left? And we have some additional asks out here that are, you know, I realize we can't give it to every single person. I'm just wondering, what is the procedure of determining how much is going to be spent, how much is going to be handed out? Just because I do see a couple of other organizations, I think that do, you know, could definitely use the support of our community. And I think that I'm not on this committee, so I can't speak to how it goes. I know it's a lot of work and it's not a job, it's not a task that I envy by any means, but you know, where's the threshold where we determine this is the amount we're going to give out, this is the number we're going to reach? And how is that determined? If that makes sense, sorry.
Okay, through your worship to Counselor, I would actually defer that to Counselor Martin. She could speak to that more than I can.
Through you, Mayor Accioni, to the councillor's question. This is a committee that actually does their homework and which I really appreciate. They have all gone through the binder ahead of time. And we come at it from very different lenses and very different backgrounds and different experiences. And so we usually start the conversation with, you know, what was your feeling on, you know, what you read through? Because this is the second intake of the year, there were a couple of organizations in this intake that were already granted earlier in the year. And so as we came to those ones, we set them aside and circled back. So we went to the ones who were first time applicants, first time for this year, and went through those first, and intentionally leaving some money to go and circle back to some of the others. And so I don't know if that answers your question. There are certainly applications where a large amount is asked for. I'll just pick a number, say maybe someone's asked for $10,000, but there might be certain things within that that aren't ideal to fund, or there might be things that are must-haves as opposed to things that are nice to have within the application. And so sometimes we go through and look at the breakdown of what they're asking for, and find what is it that is most applicable to the need in our community and the need for that organization, and attach. So if they ask for $3,000 for something really specific, then we'll suggest to council to award the $3,000 rather than the full 10,000. And I would say that goes across a very few organizations, especially with the big asks, get the full amount granted. Because there just isn't enough for everyone to get everything that they ask for. Does that answer your question?
I guess maybe just a follow-up is just, you know, we have 19,300 left over still in this account. So it seems like a large amount to continue to carry over. So I just wondered, you know, was there not, you know, room to have a few more dollars doled out? But again, I understand it's a tough task. I guess maybe I was just trying to get some clarification on how we determine this amount is enough to take over versus, you know, what's too much, what's too little to carry over.
Thank you. Counselor Shanberg.
Not sure if this is a question or maybe just a statement. I did talk to Tim Dukes also from Operation Sharing, just in general, get an update as to how things are going since he's become the executive director over there. And the $10,000 that's listed for this grant is specifically for Food for Friends. So the idea being is if you go grocery shopping at most grocery stores, also in Ingersoll and Woodstock, that you can donate a quarter or $1 or top up to the nearest dollar or something to help the Food for Friends campaign. And he noticed to me that less than 30% of all the money that's needed for Food for Friends or is utilized in the Food for Friends program back out to the gift certificates for people who would need food, because they can only buy food at the stores. They can't buy anything else at the stores. It has to be a sort of a food product. That only about 30% is covered by the actual so-called Food for Friends program. Again, collecting all the loonies and the quarters and stuff from, so to me, it would look like it's something that seems to be very much necessary, except for the fact that, again, being that I've always been someone who talks about the Oxford County Human Services Department, to kind of think, well, if we're giving money from the city of Woodstock for this program, are we getting money from Southwest Oxford, East or Tavistock or others for this same program?
Thank you. I don't think there was a question there, so. Anyone else? Oh, Counselor Tate.
I just had a comment, sort of the same as, Counselor Wismer Van Meer. Because when I looked at the list, that actually came forward and the ones that didn't get money, I found it a little bit upsetting because a lot of it affected children. And to me, this grant, process has always been historically, anything to do with children always got first priority. So when I look at this, I know there's a lot of social needs, but the number one, importance in any community is the children. So I think the children should always come first. And as noted, social services is an upper tier responsibility. So I don't want to start getting into this. We're already paying 40% at the county, and then we're taking Woodstock money, that's for Woodstock residents, and applying it to these social services. So I found it very upsetting to see some of them. Example, the one for across the street for Woodstock Little Theater. There are a lot of children that would benefit from those programs, and a lot of underprivileged children. I know from experience, a parent that has a child that basically wouldn't come out of the house but found theater, and it's made a difference. So I have an issue with some of these, and I think I had the same concern. If their money is there, why aren't we helping these kids? Same with some of the ones for kids with activity. It's very important that kids are active. So I'm not sure why we're not doing some of the grants for the kids for activity. So I do have an issue with this, and I'll just leave it at that.
I'm going to go to Counselor Martin to respond to any of that as the committee member before I go to Counselor Schattenberg. Counselor Martin, thank you.
So because the Theatre Woodstock was specifically mentioned, I will indicate that that is an organization that was already granted earlier in the first round cycle for this year. So that was a significant decision of the committee, significant influence on the decision of the committee.
Counselor Schattenberg.
Yeah, my question is from the mayor through to Brian Connors, and it's related to what both Councillor Wismer Van Meer and Councillor Tate were talking about. User groups within the city of Woodstock, whether it be Woodstock Minor Hockey or even Theater Woodstock for stages or some of these other programs, or even something like the Gymnastics Club, because they're user groups within the city or leasing property from the city. Are they eligible to apply to the FAIR program for registration, or is that really concentrating more on summer camps and aquatics lessons that are city of Woodstock events?
Your worship, through to the councilor's question, the FAIR program is for internal Woodstock, we have to keep the accounting internal and not external, but it is for busing all parks and recreational programs and cultural programs as well.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Leatherborough.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This would be a question for the clerk, and if you don't have the answer because I'm putting you on the spot, that's totally fine. But I do remember talking about the policy that's attached to this community grant, and I think we had touched on like if that is a policy that could be revised. Did you know offhand roughly like when the last time this policy was revised? If there's more specific direction council would like to see these community grants allocated to? Or Heather, sorry, whoever would like to take that question.
Your worship, through to Councillor Leatherbarrow. The last time this was revised was November 7th, 2013.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, if I can continue, could that be perhaps, obviously for next year, that's something that council could look at and maybe fine tune and refine that policy to really target specific direction of how those community grants should be allocated? And I'm going to ask Amy that, please.
Your worship, thank you. Through to Councillor Leatherbarrow. Funny you should ask. That is that is on our work plan. for our corporate services division, for 2025. What we would do in that case would be, we would suggest some revisions and we would take it to the committee first for comment and, work through that channel, and then we would bring it back to council for final approval.
Perfect. So just through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna put my hand up then in support of all that are listed here, just again, so I can be clear as to how I'm voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leathborough. Councillor Tate?
Through the chair, just to clarify then through Councillor Martin, did not, Operation Sharing, did we not give them $10,000 the last time too? So they have, so it's 20,000 we've given to them.
10,000 was granted and approved by council in the March intake, and there is an additional 10,000 in front of us. If I could ask a question then of the mayor, I'm going to put you on the spot now. We had discussion around increasing that because of the need in the community, but there was discussion around Operation Sharing has also asked the mayor's task force for funding, and we kind of wanted to find out what that decision was, and that this could be reconsidered. I mean, council can add or delete from this list of recommendations as they wish. So that was a question that did come up at the table.
Okay, well, thank you. The mayor's task force, as the task force makes no decisions as far as spending money, it would always come back here to council and council will make those decisions. We don't have a clear request at this point. I mean, there was a request. Unfortunately, we have spent a big chunk of that money already, so there was some hesitancy of spending it all. Another $50,000 was the request for security, if those remember from the mayor's task force. There is no motion right now in front of council to consider any other funding to Operation Sharing currently. If that answers that. Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Tate.
Sorry, through the chair, just having a discussion with my neighbor next door. We're just wondering if we could add, since there was 19,000 left, if we could take from a couple of them and add them to the list that was. Are we able to do that?
I would certainly be okay if it was a friendly amendment and everybody was in agreement to adding to that. And I'm going to look to the mover to make sure, first off.
Yeah, it can be an amendment or a friendly amendment. It's either one. Like I would suggest that this is the role of council to specifically on this report.
I'd agree with that. So I'm going to go back to Councillor Tate then. Obviously, she has something in mind. And then we'll discuss it after the recommendation.
Through the chair, I wanted to add Woodstock Minor Hockey Association, the 7,000 that so 20 kids in need could play hockey. And then the other one was the Theater Woodstock, the 3,500 that they requested.
Okay, and then we'll go around and see if anybody wants to make any other suggestions before we talk about it in general. Councillor Lauder?
I would recommend removing the Oxford Community Foundation and the Oxford County Community Health Center from the list.
Okay, that now strikes me as not a friendly then. I'm trying to decide here, yeah. Yeah. Yes, I like that. So the recommendation is to add and subtract as we go along individually, if that would be okay with everyone here. Maybe we'll go through the list as each one, and I'll look for hands up on each individual one. That's presented, including the minor hockey and theater I will include. Is there anything else would like to be considered while I go through the list with everyone and we'll get a vote? Seeing no more, then I'm gonna start with the 13th Woodstock Scout. Yeah, okay. Sorry, so we're gonna I'm gonna ask Counselor Tate to add that as a motion. If you've got a seconder for minor hockey as well as theater, do we need two different motions for each one of those, or is one motion to add both okay? Seconded by Counselor Schadenberg. All those in favor to add those to the list right now? Both, yes. Thank you. So now I'm gonna go through it individually. I think so as well, but that's why I wanted to go through each one to make sure, or no. I was thinking at this point to make it real clear and simple. I'm gonna vote on all of them, or ask everyone to vote on all of them if that's okay. At this point, with either in favor or not, with the amount awards, and I'll read it as we go. Any corrections, please let me know. I'm gonna start off. And yeah, we probably should. So I'm gonna look for a motion. Yeah, we're gonna set dividing the motion. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Dividing the motion, I'll have a first and a seconder on each one. So 13th Woodstock Scouts, looking for a motion to accept $3,000. Counselor Lauder, seconded by Counselor Martin. I saw your hand. All those in favor? That is carried. Muslim Association of Woodstock, $3,000. Looking for a motion. Counselor Schadenberg, seconded by Counselor Tate. All those in favor? That is carried. Operation Sharing, $10,000. Looking for a motion. Counselor Lauder, seconded by Counselor Leatherborough. All those in favor? That is carried. None opposed so far, by the way. Next up, we have Oxford Community Foundation for $4,000. Looking for a motion. Counselor Martin, do I have a seconder? Seeing none, that motion fails. Next up, Oxford County Community Health Center for $3,000. Looking for a motion. Counselor Leatherborough, seconded by Counselor Martin. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried 4-3. Next up, Oxford Winds Community Concert Band for $2,000. Looking for a motion. Counselor Wismer Van Meer, second by Counselor Lauder. All those in favor? That is carried, none opposed. Why not us for $3,000? Looking for a motion by Counselor Tate, second by Counselor Schadenberg. All those in favor? That is carried, none opposed. Woodstock Curling Center for $4,500. Counselor Schadenberg, seconded by Counselor Wismer Van Meer. All those in favor? That is carried, none opposed. Woodstock Dragon Boat Club for $2,100. Looking for a motion. Counselor Lauder, second by Counselor Wismer Van Meer. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Woodstock Legion Athletic Club for $2,600. Looking for a motion. Counselor Tate, seconded by Counselor Wismer Van Meer. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Woodstock Minor Football Association for $3,000. Looking for a motion. Counselor Lauder, seconded by Counselor Tate. All those in favor? None opposed. That is carried. Next up, Woodstock Minor Hockey for $7,000. Looking for a seconder. Or, sorry, it was moved by Counselor Tate, second by Counselor Shattenberg. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Theater Woodstock for $3,500. Looking for, sorry, we have a motion, Counselor Tate, seconded by Counselor Shattenberg. All those in favor? That is none opposed for $3,500. Thank you. That is everyone. Okay, because there's a little bit left over, I'm gonna ask for a motion to carry over the remaining funds to 2025. Who would like to move that? Counselor Lauder?
I'll just, and further that Woodstock City Council authorize the remaining account balance to be carried over of the account in 0204-83747-0000 be carried over to the 2025 budget year to provide supplemental funding for the 2025 Community Grants Program.
Thank you. Do we need a seconder on that? We're gonna do that individually. Seconded by Counselor Tate. All those in favor? Opposed? None opposed. That is carried. Okay, we are going to, I see our fire chief is here. We're gonna go back a step to 14I.1 for fire services. I'm looking for a motion for 14I.1 repeal and replacement of municipal code chapter 309. Looking for a motion. Counselor Shattenberg, seconded by Counselor Lauder. Any questions as a fire chief? No. Looking to read the motion.
Yeah.
Counselor
The Woodstock
Shattenberg, sorry.
City Council refer the report regarding the repeal and replacement of municipal code, chapter 309, to the bylaw section of the agenda.
Thank you. Any questions of the fire chief? Or any other staff member, of course. Counselor Shattenberg.
Yeah, I do have a question, but really just a comment. First of all, I think it's important to always be updating these municipal codes or bylaws as time goes on because things change, circumstances certainly change. And what I liked about the report that Fire Chief Slager put together, it really puts the onus on individual categories. For example, what's the Parks and Recreation Department responsible for in case of an emergency? It really does do a good job of breaking it down. So maybe a comment from the chief to sort of say, first of all, we don't want to have to ever implement this, but just the importance of everyone having a role on a committee or specifically to assist in this process if need be.
Your worship, through to Councilor Shattenberg. That was the intent behind this. Now, in our previous bylaw, it did have some of these details assigned for all the individuals. The revamp that we've done, the redesign, has clarified in some of those areas. We were able to work with the department heads for each of those to look at some of the previous ones, some of the areas that they might grow into that would fit within. So we're very thankful for the department heads throughout the city and for our county partners as well to be able to assist us in putting it together.
This is therefore just a comment. I know if there's a special event going on, like a Santa Claus parade, the Works Department is obviously assigned to do their tasks to close roads and whatnot. But to have a specific task in hand in an emergency case to sort of say, all right, the Works Department, you're responsible for this, I think is very important. Thanks a lot, Mr. Slater.
Yeah, through this process, I certainly learned a lot as well and thank all the staff that put it together and makes it clear for everyone. Any other comments or questions of the chief? Counselor Lauder.
Through the mayor to the chief. What I found, all the acronyms, and I got them listed here, there's quite a few. So I hope everyone who has to follow this remembers them. Thank you.
Your worship, through to Councilor Lauder, that the last pages of it does have a definition there. And that is something that Mr. Curry brought forward to us, that it is a very acronym heavy document for there. And it shortens the number of pages that we actually have to print by not typing them out all the time. So.
Definitely have seen that in my first responder life. You get used to those. Anyone else before I call the vote? All those in favor? That is carried. Next up, 14I.2 Fire Protection Tanker Operations Service Agreement for Cachet and Karn. Looking for a motion? Counselor Lauder?
Since I'm over here by myself, I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the Fire Protection Tanker Operations Service Agreement, Cachet/Karn, with the Township of Southwest Oxford.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? I'm looking at this side of the room now. Counselor Schadenberg. Discussion or questions of the chief? Counselor Schadenberg.
I guess just a confirmation from the mayor through to the chief. This would just be a sort of a temporary thing, based on if something significant happened in that subdivision in the next couple of years. It's a temporary, solution, is it not?
Your worship, through to Councillor Schadenberg, that is correct. So while the infrastructure for that new subdivision is going in, with the water mains for both the pumping station and at end result, the looping results in the water pressure meeting the requirements for both provision for the residents and for fire protection. This will be in place for that time period. Once the infrastructure meets those requirements, this will be set aside and we can rescind it or repeal it at that time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Jumping ahead, thank you very much, Chief. No notice of motions and no new business that I'm aware of, which brings us to the bylaw section. Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, moved by Councillor Schadenberg, seconded by Councillor Lauder, that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 9712-24, a bylaw to repeal and replace Chapter 309 Emergency Response Plan. And also that the following bylaws be given a third and final reading. I guess that's a different one. 9712-24, yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, we'll just stick to the one right now. First and second reading only. Any questions, concerns with that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Next up, Counselor Schadenberg.
Yeah, moved by Councillor Schadenberg, seconded by Councillor Tate, that the following bylaws be given a third and final reading. This time it's 9712-24.
Thank you. Last chance. Any questions, concerns with that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. And that is our meeting this afternoon. We are going to start with, well, Councillor Lauder, since she's by herself.
Thank you. This is the past week, Mary Sautel Cook passed away. She lived her life with grace and dignity, always with a smile for those she met, even though she lived with a debilitating disease, multiple sclerosis, for over 60 years. Mary was one of three daughters of the Sautel family who formed a long-standing history in our community, helping to form the foundation of our community through their many businesses, notably an insurance company. In 2022, Council honored the Sautel family by naming a city-owned 26-acre parcel of land designated open space in the north side of Piddock Park Road, recognizing their contribution. May she rest in peace. From the Art Gallery, please join us at the Woodstock Art Gallery on Saturday, October the 19th from 1 to 3 for the fall open house featuring tours of our new exhibitions, wood carving demonstrations, as well as the launch of the new book dedicated to Florence Carlyle writings. This event is free to everyone and everyone is welcome. And I think there's going to be something there for every young and older. So come out and enjoy a free day. And I spoke with Mr. Connors this morning and reporting an update on the recreation fair. And there's 31,882 has been applied to accounts with a remaining balance of $3,118. And the transit fare is $24,944.50 has been applied to accounts so far, and with a $5,055.50 still remaining. So, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Shanberg.
Yeah, I guess three events I want to mention, this coming Saturday, that's October the 5th, from 11 until 3 at the Woodstock Public Library is the CD Saturday program. It's run by the Woodstock Environment Advisory Committee that both myself and Councillor Leatherbarrow stand on. But also the Woodstock Public Libraries, and that's where the event takes place at. Woodstock Public Library is also part of it. If you're not aware of the fact that there's actually an old card catalog, tall stand-up, you would call it tall boy, I guess. It's got all kinds of seeds in it on an ongoing basis at the library too, for anybody who wants to sort of grab some. But among the other groups participating in this event is the Oxford County Trails Council. Also want to mention the Woodstock Navy Vets are off to a 3-3 start to the season. Their next game is on Friday. That's tomorrow. They host Paris. Game time is 7:45. Paris has a 1-5 record on the season. Davin Gray leads the team so far with 7 points in 6 games, so give him credit for a quick start to the year. But I do want to add that the Navy Vets executive is looking for game day volunteers if you can help in some sort of a capacity. The last thing I want to mention is this past Monday, the Indigenous Solidarity Awareness Network of Oxford hosted something called the Sunrise Ceremony, and it was at Pittock Conservation Area. Mary Lou and Dan Smoke were the guest speakers. If you want to call them what they were, they're really elders of a community, really talking about the history and the importance of Indigenous in Southwestern Ontario and a lot of the histories and customs that went along with it. Myself and Mayor Accioni were there before 7 a.m. when it was still dark outside, and because Mary Lou and Dan Smoke are such good speakers, Mayor Accioni and I were still there at 9:15.
Yes, thank you. Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Just a couple of things I'm going to mention. This Saturday, seniors in food crisis, they're doing a food drive at Little Caesars here in Woodstock. So that's Saturday, October 5th from 12 to 3. They are collecting items such as milk, bread, eggs, meat, spaghetti, sauce, noodles, so on and so forth, canned goods, etc. So when you bring 4 of those items in, you can get yourself a free pepperoni pizza and crazy bread. So you're getting some good food while you also support seniors within our community. Museum, the Woodstock Museum is still hosting their House on Haunted Hill escape room. That is on till October 26th, Fridays and Saturdays from 4 till 9 p.m. Groups of 4 to 6 people, it's $20 each. A couple of years ago, when they first started the escape rooms, my friends and I did boys versus girls, a little competition. We won't say who won, but it was a lot of fun. So it's for adults, it's for 14 plus, but it's a great night out for adults as well too. So you can go check that out. And I'm going to say the best for last, because I'm super excited to say that the Youth Advisory Committee is up and going again. I just want to say a huge thank you to the staff. I know that I was being quite a nuisance, constantly bugging and asking if we can do this, do that. And they have put together a really great package. So thank you to Colleen Collins for getting this rolled out this week. You have until the end of this month to get your application in. The Youth Advisory Committee is for youth 13 plus. And this is an opportunity for young people to have their voices heard through to council and kind of give us the guidance and your perspective on what you want to see happening in our community. So I am asking folks to share this far and wide within our community. I'm really excited to be a part of this committee, and I think that there is potential for some amazing things because we have an amazing group of young people in Woodstock that I know have some great ideas to share. So get those applications in, and I'm really looking forward to working with you all. And I guess we won't see you till after, so gobble till you wobble. Happy Thanksgiving.
Gobble to you all. I like that. Counselor Tate.
I also want to offer my condolences to the Cook Satel and Rowell family, and I thanked staff earlier for when we were working on getting the park name, that it was done so quickly because they were concerned that Mary would still be around to see it. So thanks to staff that we got that done. And They have been around for generations in Woodstock, and it's people, it's those families that make us what we are, and they've done a lot of community work also that, you know, they don't do it for recognition, but like I said, it makes Woodstock what it is. And just a note on the youth, because I've been reading a lot about this lately and noticing, you know, famous athletes, singers, actors, the number one thing they're saying to the kids, stay off social media. So there's a high incidence now with anxiety and depression in kids, and I think it's getting directed back to social media. A lot of bullying going on. I know it can be used in a positive way. Councillor Wismer Van Meer, Councillor Schadenberg, and the mayor use it very positive to promote activities, but they're, even adults are bullying on social media. And it's a terrible thing that's going on, but especially for the youth. So parents, please pay attention, because a lot of times you don't know what's going on. But get your kids outside, be active, go do something, get them off social media. And it's the same for adults. Remember, when you are saying those things, doesn't matter how old you are, it is not kind, and people could do better. And that's it.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to congratulate our Woodstock Art Gallery for their success in the exhibition. Got an invite to Washington, DC at the Canadian Embassy. Many Lives Mark This Place by John Hartman was there. And it is amazing to be on the world stage like that. That is coming from Woodstock. It's amazing, the conversations and everything else that are being had. In saying that, I took a couple of days off while we were there as well, and then we went around and I got to spend my anniversary with my wife. So I want to say happy anniversary, Sarah, again. I'm glad we had a little time together and in a time that is needed. This afternoon, I want to let the public know Boralex is having an open house, and they're the new battery storage, power storage facility that's going to be opening up in our neighborhood of Southwest Oxford. Because of the neighbors that live nearby here in the city of Woodstock, it's being hosted at Golf Hall. So of course, anybody has questions, stop in there between the hours of 4, it's just about to start, until 8 o'clock tonight. If you've got any concerns, questions, thoughts, you want to see what's going on, it's there. The Ingamo Homes, this weekend is another busy weekend around the city. I'm going to be attending Ingamo Homes' 35th anniversary. They've got the greatest race going on here. So if you've put a team in, I hope you have. Then later on that day, we will be celebrating Diwali. Been invited again to a Diwali event. So there's a dinner and dance happening. Bethany Lutheran Church is going to be celebrating their 90th anniversary. So I'm going to be attending that church service at 10 a.m. Sunday morning, and welcome anybody to attend. And they're going to have an open house after the service. Well, open to the public to stop in and say hello and take a look. I'm going to back up again on the Saturday. I forgot there's a cat show. I'm more of a dog guy. I've already warned them, but going to help judge some cats, but also play in a little tournament of some sort they've got planned. So if you're at the Oxford Auditorium, that is happening all day on Saturday, 9 to 4. Stop in, say hello. If you're a big cat lover, it's for the Canadian Pedigrees and Companion Cat Show. I'm very excited with the Youth Advisory Committee that Councillor Wismer Van Meer already mentioned. I want to say thank you to staff as well. I'm really excited to get this going. I've had 2 youth already reach out by some posts I've made and sharing our Woodstock posts. So it is out there, it's working. We were talking about social media here a couple of seconds ago with Councillor Tate. Here's a good way that we were able to reach some. Hopefully we'll get a whole bunch of our youth involved. I'm going to be continuing going to our schools, welcoming those conversations, talking about municipal. I'm at WCI next week, and we'll keep that going as much as we can. But we want to hear from you. If you know of a youth that would enjoy this sort of thing, please pass it along. Make sure they apply by October 31st. All the details are on the cityofwoodstock.ca website. And with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Woodsmer Van Meer, second by Councillor Schattenberg. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving, everyone, since we'll see you afterwards.